A bombshell new report may have just revealed precisely why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson returned to WWE after nearly 11 years away from in-ring action. We're going to take a look at this report, talk about what it means, why The Rock needed to return to WWE, and how he let potentially $250 million go right down the toilet. All that and much, much more coming up in this video. So be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Let's get right into it. So obviously The Rock's hurdles in Hollywood have been chronicled for a while. We heard that there was a lot of drama leading up to the premiere of the Black Adam movie, which of course did not do well. This coincided with The Rock not getting a lot of opportunities as far as movies go. People were talking about how his role in Hollywood and how his reputation really was diminished and tarnished in some ways. But we really didn't get too much of an insight into why exactly this was. Well, a new report from The Wrap takes a look at some of the problems The Rock has faced in Hollywood. And we're going to go through and read parts of it. So again, this is from The Wrap. The link to the full article is in the description. I highly recommend y'all check it out. Read one down, how Dwayne Johnson's tardiness led to a $250 million runaway production exclusive. The Amazon MGM film was delayed to November 2024 release. This is one of his movies that is upcoming, that was apparently delayed, and here's why. For more than 2 decades, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has nurtured a reputation as a hardworking, muscle-bound action comedy movie star with a considerable box office drawing power. But Red One, a high-powered Christmas crowd pleaser for Amazon MGM, has turned into a massive budgetary misadventure, casting Johnson's future and fame and work ethic in a different light. Originally slated for a release during the 2023 Christmas season, the Red One theoretical release has now been delayed to November 2024, supposedly due to last year's labor strikes, but the real story is a lot messier. Production issues ranging from Johnson's chronic lateness and lack of professionalism on set to producers' inexperience caused costs for the movies co-starring Chris Evans and J.K. Simmons to spiral upwards to a final budget of over $250 million, a sum more fitting of a superhero tentpole. Article goes on to say, according to more than a dozen insiders directly involved in the project, the Red One production was a perfect storm of problems compounded by the inexperience of the film's lead producer, Hiram Garcia, of Seven Bucks Productions. That is, by the way, the production company that The Rock owns, and Amazon MGM. Feature and production executives Julia Rappaport and Glenn Gaynor. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, who are overseeing the project. Goes on to say, insiders told The Wrap that Johnson showed up at as much as 8 hours late to set on the movie, forcing the crew to shoot around him on some days. On previous films, Johnson had made a habit of peeing in water bottles to save time, upsetting crew members. Here's a quote, on set, away from his trailer, if he needs to pee, he doesn't go to the public bathroom. One insider who knows the movie star well said, quote, he pees in a Voss water bottle and his team or PA has to dispose of it. Let's take a break there and just talk about that first part. So obviously, we know that Dwayne Johnson has been in Hollywood for a while. He has been doing the action star stuff for a minute now. And with that, we realize that there comes a certain level of privilege. There comes a certain level of status that one is just quite frankly given. And whether or not it's right or wrong is a whole different conversation. But the sense that this article is trying to give you is that The Rock's reputation, it wasn't just one or two missteps or one or two habits that caused him to fall out or gain a horrible reputation amongst his peers in the production film world, but it was the fact that he just didn't seem to be into it as much as they needed him to. And as you're seeing this, right? The Voss Water P side, that is insane. That is the most privileged, boozy ass shit I've ever heard. But the 8 hours late to production is something that, for multiple reasons is bad. Number one, you're showing up extraordinarily late to something that is on a very tight timeline. Like, even something as long as 30 minutes late can cost a production like thousands upon thousands of dollars in lost time, renting equipment, all that kind of stuff, and obviously paying the staff that's on there to stay later. Like, there's a lot of fees and factors involved that people don't really think about. But for an entire day to be lost, potentially for just because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson showed up late, and obviously in a lot of the movie season, he's a critical piece, that is going to rub everyone the wrong way. It's going to rub your fellow actors the wrong way because they are going to be delayed because of your delay. It's definitely going to rub the producers and the executives the wrong way because that causes strain on the producers who are doing their job, because they're going to get questions from the executives about why this is taking so long, why the costs for these films and these things are going so high. And $250 million for a budget for a Christmas Happy Time movie is not what this was supposed to be. Like, that is insane. Again, you want to talk about budgets for a film, like $250 million. You could do a Marvel movie for that budget. And trust me, Red One is not a Marvel movie. So it is crazy. But again, this is kind of planting the seeds of what's to come later on in the article. And again, I highly recommend y'all check it out. Link in the description. It's planting the seeds of what's to come as far as telling the story of The Rock and kind of his, I don't want to say downfall in Hollywood, because that is a very, I think it's a very hyperbolic term, but as far as his reputation goes, it is a bit of a downfall. So let's continue reading here. Amazon was hoping to launch a potential franchise with Red One, which is about a villain who kidnaps Santa Claus from the North Pole, after which an elf, extremely large, formidable operative, joins forces with a bounty hunter to find Santa and save Christmas. The script was written by frequent collaborator Chris Morgan, a longtime Fast and Furious scribe, and directed by Johnson regular Jake Kasdan of the Jumanji movies. At its first ever CinemaCon this year, Amazon MGM took the unusual step of premiering the footage from the film to a small group of journalists handpicked by Johnson's publicist. The journalists were shown about 10 minutes of the footage, but not allowed to write about what they saw. While it's common for studios to strategically reveal select scenes, the complete media blackout surrounding the Red One footage suggests that Amazon is aware that it will have a rocky road to its delayed release. In a statement to Wrapped, a spokesperson for Amazon MGM denied there were any on-set issues with the Red One or delays caused by Johnson's lateness or $7 Productions' inexperience, which caused the film's budget to balloon. Here's the quote. Quote, Dwayne Johnson and $7 have been incredible partners on Red One, a film that audiences of all ages are going to love this holiday season, the spokesperson said. Our testing has been very strong. The reaction from CinemaCon, it speaks for itself, and we couldn't have made it without Dwayne's constant work and support. And any reporting that implies that we got to this point with him showing up 7 hours late to sets is both ridiculous and false. So, just going to take a quick pause there. Obviously, we need to keep two things in mind. Number one, whenever you are talking about spokespeople and PR agents, they are always going to try to minimize controversial statements, even if there is a controversy there. Rarely has there ever been a production house or any spokesperson for a film that has come right out and said that there were problems before a film was released. That stuff never comes out unless it's something that's like disgusting, a la like allegations of sexual misconduct. You're never going to hear that kind of stuff because all the other stuff is just going to rub people the wrong way. And it's going to more so cast the movie in a bad light. And remember, Amazon still wants to make money off of this, you would think. So they are going to try to minimize any thinking about, Dwayne Johnson or whatever. Because again, he is the star of this movie. If they bury the star of this movie before its release, why would people go and watch it? They want to incentivize people to go and watch this movie. They want to incentivize that. All the other stuff is behind the scenes. Like all the other, hoopla about whether or not they're ever going to work with The Rock again, whether or not they're actually going to be a franchise, that's all behind the scenes. Like that's going to be handled between The Rock's The Rock's agents and his team and whoever at Amazon is coordinating with them. So again, this is like a recurring trend in PR. Like you're going to see these things happen more so behind the scenes rather than out front. Like you're never going to get anyone to admit to these things like out front. All right, goes on to say, the film is the latest behind-the-scenes drama to plague the Amazon MGM film unit. It comes on the heels of a highly publicized clash between director Doug Liman and producer Joel Silver during the production of the Roadhouse remake, whose controversy was extended by allegations of AI usage and questions about the film's underlying copyrights. The Red One's tension also come as Amazon Studios chief Jennifer Salk, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, is attempting to get Amazon MGM's theatrical output on stable footing, and it intensifies doubt about the young studio's ability to effectively become a formidable player in the theatrical, space. The Rock is late is the subheading for this next part. Johnson, who advocates himself as, quote, the hardest worker in the room, unquote, has developed a reputation in the industry for his lateness and lack of professionalism on set, according to multiple insiders who spoke to the Wrap. Said one, the Red One insider, the only thing Dwayne was consistent at was being chronically late. The examples of Johnson's tardiness are numerous and well documented, from showing up late to fan events to leaving entire sets idle while he was off doing 3-hour workouts. Earlier this month, he was 3 hours late arriving ahead of his main event match at WrestleMania 40. Two insiders told The Wrap, for WWE World, a WWE fan event in Philadelphia leading up to WrestleMania 40, Johnson showed up 2 hours behind schedule, drawing boos from the crowd and criticism from the local Philadelphia press. According to WWE insiders, Johnson's late arrival was due to other WWE commitments as well as traffic in Philadelphia on the way to the WWE World venue in Center City. This is quoting from The Rock. You're booing because The Rock was a little late. That's why you're booing. The Rock was watching YouTube, watching Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts lose in the playoffs again. Playing to his heel persona, Johnson added, you boo because it's the truth. Now The Rock has shown up and you got greatness in front of you. You stand there, shut your mouth, and enjoy the ride that The Rock's taking you on. Chris Legentil, WWE's executive vice president for talent relations and head of communications, told The Wrap, Dwayne was not only on time for WrestleMania, he was hours early to help with rehearsal and a pleasure to work with throughout the entire run. Okay, so this is now referring to a very renowned and controversial series of events that took place over WrestleMania weekend. This was reported on and called out when it happened. So I believe for night 2 of WrestleMania, The Rock was late to the WWE fan event as chronicled in this story. And it got a lot of ire from obviously the fans who were there, but also fans online who were already kind of questioning The Rock and his motivations. But it was odd. It was quite frankly odd to see The Rock 3 hours late to this fan event, or it was 2 to 3 hours late, I should say, to this fan event. Especially when you consider WWE usually has these things on a very tight timeline. You want to make sure people are there. You want to make sure you have that transportation and what have you set up. But the fact that he was late, and again, I was in Philadelphia for WrestleMania. The traffic was ungodly in Philadelphia. You could not drive in the city. Horrible, horrible traffic. So no one is going to say that, traffic was not a legitimate reason for The Rock to be late. When you pair that, however, with other instances of The Rock's tardiness, whether it be showing up 7 hours late, whether it be, as chronicled in the story by an insider, leaving for 3 hours at a time to go and fit in a workout, that is a different story. And to many people who you would assume would potentially want to work with The Rock and they hear this, it's going to make them think twice. It's going to make them think twice about working with him. It's going to make them think twice about having him involved in their production, because this is a guy who could cost you thousands upon thousands, if not millions of dollars by not being there. And again, this is not me saying it. I am trying to get into the minds. And again, it's going to be a hard thing to do because we're never there. But when you try to get into the minds and the decisions that these people have to make based off of money, like the number one bottom line, no matter how big of a star you are, no matter how big of a draw you are, no matter how big of an entertainer that you are and the audience that you bring, the number one thing for producers, executives, everyone involved in that decision-making process in Hollywood is their bottom line is money. If they can make money with you, they would happily have you and happily hide your faults. We have seen that happen time and time again in Hollywood to a disgusting and disgraceful level. However, if you by any way, or in any way I should say, cost them money, if you in any way cost them their reputation, you're gone like that. And you are pariahed like that, and you are blackballed like that. And that's what I think has happened over the last few months, years really, with The Rock. We have seen his reputation, really take a pretty massive hit, like the peeing in bottles aside, like that is I know that's like a funny thing, but like it's really like, it does get to, I guess, the sense of, The Rock and his the sentiment, I think, that has been out there for a while, that The Rock feels like he is bigger and better. Like, and again, I'm not saying that is truth. I have no knowledge about that outside of reports that we hear, right? But that is the sentiment that has happened. That is the sentiment that people have. Go back to the beef that he had with Vin Diesel. We heard these similar types of things happen there. And all of this, right, when you look at it and then you look at him coming back into the limelight with WWE, it makes a little bit more sense. And I'm not just saying that the $30 million that he got to be on the board and, obviously be involved in the decision-making process and as a talent on air, that helped a lot. That really helped a lot, let's be honest. At the same time, it was a mutually beneficial relationship because The Rock got paid and he gets a chance here to really show the world what he's capable of, continue to be in the limelight, continue to be popular, continue to be entertaining and be involved in entertainment in WWE on a high level and really bring them up to another level, which is what he did at WrestleMania. Well, at the same time for WWE, it's a no-brainer. You sold out, 16 straight shows because of The Rock's involvement, and you can't say that it was obviously not just him, but to say that it was not largely because of The Rock that they sold out all those shows would be asinine. Let's be honest here. I mean, it is clear that he had a direct impact on business. It is clear that he had, that he had a vision, right? Well, he had a few visions. It changed over time, but he had a vision for what he wanted to do here. And what he wanted to do was prove that his impact carries weight, that when he's on TV, people watch. When he's on TV or when he's going to be somewhere, people show up. That is what he's trying to send out there. And again, it's part of I think a bit of a rehabilitation of The Rock and what his future is going to be. Speaking of his future, there is a section here in this article we're going to skip ahead to that does talk about The Rock's future. Here we go. Rock's future. Johnson's last two would-be blockbusters, the non-IP action movie Skyscraper in 2018 and the DC comic book adaptation Black Adam last year, underperformed critically and commercially. Next up for Rock is A24's The Smashing Machine, a biopic about UFC fighter Mark Kerr that will be directed by Ben Safdie. There we go. Ben Safdie. Johnson is set to star alongside his Jungle Cruise co-star Emily Blunt. However, one insider warned Benny has no clue what he's gotten himself into. The Smashing Machine is currently scheduled to shoot from May to August, but the same insider expressed skepticism that the production will proceed smoothly or stick to that schedule. But unlike Amazon MGM, A24 doesn't have $200 million to burn on an ego-driven runaway production. Could the indie darling finally be the one to rein him in? Obviously, this article was going in on The Rock. I mean, this was, you could call it a hit piece, and I think you would be right to do so. Like that's what, that is the term that is kind of used and thrown around both in PR and in the media, like a hit piece. It is clear that this piece had a motive, and that motive was to take the stories of The Rock, to take the reputation he has developed, amplify it, and put the most, salacious examples out there for the world to see. That's any article you read. That's any hit piece. It depends, right, what it's about. It depends what, is in it. But whenever you're looking at something like this, right, that's why I said, the peeing in bottles thing is kind of crazy to include, but it's a very salacious detail, and that's why they put it in there. But whenever you look at these patterns that are outlined here, and again, these are reports, that doesn't mean that they're completely wrong and they're untrue. Because again, if you look at the timeline of events, if you look at the things we've heard, it lines up. And truly, I think to say that this was, and this is my view now, to say that this was not a reason for The Rock to come back to WWE, I think is foolish. I think it totally was. Because whether or not he actually did some of these things, whether or not The Rock, it's peeing in bottles and hours late because he's working out, whether or not that's true, the perception amongst fans and the public is that these problems kind of exist and that he's a bit washed. Like that last, as crazy as that last paragraph was, it did point out two big things. Skyscraper and Black Adam especially, horrible at the box office. People did not come out to see those movies as well as they should have, and those movies were largely sold on The Rock's star power. And when that happens, when your star power diminishes, and then you have all these other stories coming out, at a certain point you have to come out as The Rock and defend yourself in the best way you can, which is showing people that you're still relevant, showing people that you can draw a crowd, and showing people that they need to tune in when you do something. So again, we'll see what happens with this. This is not something to turn away from, I think, because we've talked about The Rock and his diminishing role in Hollywood before, but it's interesting for sure. Let me know what you guys think, though, about all of this in the comments section below. Also, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Check out the full article in the comments section for more details about the pee, the lateness, everything else. And also some craziness that The Rock did with producers as far as kind of placing people that he wanted in places. I will say there's definitely more to this than I read through there. So definitely check it out. Link is in the description of this video. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.